I remember watching the original RoboCop on TV as a kid, before we had cable, and it was edited and heavily watered down. Frankly, I don't know why anyone let me watch that movie at that age, even an edited for TV version, but I eventually did see the unedited version, which we rented on VHS. Holy shit, that movie was violent as fuck. But I, along with every other kid, was enamored with the idea of technology and futurism it presented. I sort of looked past the satire and the bleak light that Detroit was painted in. You can't really blame a 10-year-old kid for not understanding Paul Verhoeven's artistic style, can you? To his credit, Verhoeven pretty much nailed it when it comes to corporate corruption, privatization, and what Detroit had to look forward to. I remember a kid in 3rd grade wanted to see RoboCop 3 when it came out, and a bunch of parents freaked out because they said it was too violent. My dad, of course, decided that we should in fact see it, and took my brother and I soon after it released. I remember that very fondly, but I will say that part 2 is my favorite. Kane's disembodied head floating in a vat is forever burned into my memory as one of the most hilarious, disgusting, nightmare-fueling scenes in all of cinema. The story of RoboCop Rogue City takes place between the 2nd and 3rd films. RoboCop, or Murphy as he was called when he was still human, is not only hunting the main antagonist of the story, but also goes about daily police work. He can get parking citations, follow up leads from characters he meets, collect evidence, and get upgrades to his weapons and abilities. The RPG elements are a nice touch to what otherwise might have been a mindless shooter. There's a surprising amount of nuanced things to do in a given area considering the source material. Looking at our usual categories, we have gameplay. While definitely an action and sci-fi movie, RoboCop isn't the most athletic character. And though that might seem like it doesn't bode well for a video game, they somehow managed to encapsulate the feeling of being a huge hulking cyborg in the best way possible. As Murphy, you move with the same slow and precise pace through both tight hallways and open city streets. While on missions, you can scan the area for both evidence and for enemies. I will say that in some spots the lighting is a little iffy, but with the scanning of enemies marking them, and your compass at the top of your HUD indicating what direction they're in, it is overall pretty easy to find and track them. As mentioned, you can scan evidence and pick up items along the way, including OCP repair kits for your health and things like stolen jewelry or wallets, which add to your XP. It doesn't feel like the game explains much to you though. Somehow I missed that you'll fail missions if you leave an area before completing them, and didn't realize that until I'd already done it the first time. A lot of folks online talked about making sure you completed all the ones you can, because you might lock yourself out of them by not completing them before moving on. Let me know in the comments if you went through every mission before moving on to the next area. The open areas are a nice touch, letting RoboCop do a bit of detective work along the way. One of the first missions you get is figuring out what happened to a particular officer, and you end up finding one of their informants, Pickles, who is pretty funny. Together, you find his wife and family to get information and return some items to them. It's a nice way of making the characters connect more and break up the pace of the game from just being an all-out killing spree to one with an actually serviceable story. Graphics. I played this on a combination of my ROG Ally and my first-gen Steam Deck. I will say, there were some spots that felt a little rough, like both of them were struggling, but after a while of fiddling with the settings, the ROG Ally really shined here. I really love the 80s DOS-like interface on the HUD, which you see from Murphy's point of view, just like in the movie. As mentioned, you highlight enemies with your vision, and this is a really nice touch. The slow motion parts when breaking through walls and doors holds up really well, and the animations when grabbing and throwing enemies is great. There is some stuttering and maybe some artifacting, but I fully own that not playing on a gaming PC, and maybe not configuring the settings the best. Like I mentioned, I just got my ROG Ally as a gift, which I must say I'm super grateful, and I'm still learning the ins and outs of it. That being said, even when I had it turned up to what I believe was optimal settings, it looks just fine, but it doesn't break any boundaries or stand to win any awards. The biggest thing I notice here is that some assets don't feel right. The best example are some of the trucks parked on the street when you're with Pickles in the early part of the game. There's some 80s looking cars and vans, and then what looks like a straight up 1950s pickup truck. Maybe they meant for it to look that way, but it did not stick the landing. It doesn't detract from the experience, just maybe not what you would hope for. I can't say what it looks like on console though, so if you're playing on PlayStation or Xbox, let me know what you think of the graphics there. Story. I mentioned before how when I was a kid, RoboCop was a huge property. There's probably a lot of 40-year-olds out there who remember it as one of the first movies they ever saw. That being said, I realize this isn't groundbreaking material or Oscar-worthy when it comes to the script or story that it tells. Neither is this game. Without spoiling anything, there are some tie-ins to characters in the movies, a few twists and turns, but nothing revolutionary or must-see. It's a good time, and that's about it. It is nice that Peter Weller voiced RoboCop.
Are you here about Mike?
Yes, I am sorry to hear about your husband.
He is getting up there in age, and it is nice to see him play his iconic role once again. Lewis is also voiced by the original actor, and they do a great job as well. All in all, the story is intriguing enough. Again, nothing groundbreaking or award-winning, but just good enough. If we're giving grades, this game is an 8 out of 10. Again, it doesn't break any new ground, it doesn't look the greatest, or even do anything better than a similarly priced game. But what it does do is put you in the driver's seat of a great character, for which a lot of us have fond memories. If you didn't grow up with the RoboCop movies, I don't know that you'd enjoy this game as much, but you will have a good time. And for those of us who did grow up on Murphy, it's satisfying and entertaining. There were a handful of RoboCop games in the 90s that just didn't live up to the hype, and this one actually puts you in the driver's seat of Murphy we all know and remember from our childhood. The base game is only $49.99 on Steam, so if you're a fan of the franchise, definitely give this one your time and money. We're nearly 1 month into my 2024 resolution of not buying games or anything gaming related this year, and I'm still going strong. I did realize that I still have the other half of a 2 for 100 voucher on the eShop, so I'm thinking that I might get the new Princess Peach game when it comes out later this year. I had thought about trading in some games to get Prince of Persia, but with a lot of places supposedly stopping the sale of physical games soon, I'm less inclined to part with them. Guess I'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, I'm still playing Persona 5 Tactica and begrudgingly making my way through Resident Evil 2 Remake. If I manage to finish it, I'll post my thoughts. Thanks for watching. I hope the new year is starting off right for you and your family. Take care, and we'll see you soon.